Our human collective is currently undergoing one of the greatest shifts in spiritual consciousness in history. As we undergo this shift, the higher spiritual consciousness of love is spreading across the planet. But if that's the case, then why are we seeing so much of the opposite on the world stage? Why is there so much polarization, so much fear and suffering in our world as love's consciousness expands? The angels have big messages for us on this, so tune into your heart with me and get ready to receive. Humanity is undergoing a massive shift in spiritual consciousness. We are rapidly evolving and awakening to our inherent unity with each other, the earth, and all of creation. As we rise into higher awareness of our unity, we are manifesting a world with a higher overall threshold of peace, love, and prosperity for all. This is the birthing of a new earth. If you want to learn more about the meaning of New Earth, check out the videos I linked for you in the description below on this topic. Now, in order for a new earth to be born, we must undergo labor and birthing pains. The old world must die in order to make way for a new world to be born. And what this entails is that we must dissolve much of the old collective consciousness of lack and separation that influenced the old world's systems. From there, the old systems need to crumble in order to make way for new ones that are not built from a consciousness of lack and separation, but instead from a consciousness of greater empathy. As this transformation takes place, we're going to see an increasing amount of polarization in the world. You have probably already noticed this yourself. As much as there is perhaps an uptick in spiritual growth that you may be experiencing in yourself and others, there is also a seemingly intense amount of fear and negativity. Remember that, of course, the media really only tends to put a spotlight on the fear. Despite that fear seeming to be a very loud voice in our collective, please know that there is also a great deal of love and spiritual awakening occurring behind the scenes as many, many individuals, just like yourself, are being called into the light of higher consciousness. Now, much of that fear that we're seeing in the collective is the direct result of the upheaval and change we're undergoing as the old world collapses. In times of uncertainty, fear can easily be triggered. One of the biggest reasons why is that the ego, which is the consciousness and identity we all hold that is based in separation and fear, is very attached to its comfort zone of control. Ego fears the unknown, and so it clings to a comfort zone of beliefs and structures that it believes it can easily predict and control. As the structures of our world change at so many levels, our comfort zones are dissolving, and so too is the ego's illusion of being in control of reality. Without the comfort zone's usual buffer, ego must face the fears it has been holding under the surface all along. That's exactly what we're seeing happen at both a personal and collective level now. The fear, wounds, and dysfunction that have lingered under the surface of the human mind and in the structures of our overcultures and societies is now being revealed. We are collectively facing that which must be purged in order to make way for a higher consciousness of love. If we want to hold and sustain a higher consciousness of love, we need to face, process, purge, and transmute the consciousness of fear, which is the same consciousness that makes suffering possible in the first place. As fear is triggered, so is our natural divine coding of love. As love increases, it naturally pushes more fear to the surface in order for it to be purged. Now, another major component of this polarization comes down to the vibrational nature of our consciousness. According to the angels, human consciousness is comprised of vibrating and resonating waves of energy and spiritual light. Vibration is a rapid, rhythmic oscillation around an equilibrium. In the case of consciousness, the equilibrium around which it oscillates or vibrates is God. In other words, the pure divine source of all consciousness is our eternal point of equilibrium. Every particle of our consciousness is rooted to God, or rather to the divine source, and oscillates between a state of form and formlessness. Our awareness typically anchors at one point of oscillation or another. For example, when we meditate or enter a state of deep sleep, we may anchor our consciousness in the oscillation focal point of formlessness. When we are awake and thinking in our regular conscious mindset, our consciousness is anchored on the other focal point of oscillation, form. All the while, we remain anchored to God and simultaneously as present in heaven's wholeness and union as we are in our earthly human journey. The rate or level of vibration we experience in our consciousness can then vary depending on our state of mind. A consciousness of fear corresponds to one particular spectrum of vibrating thoughts and feelings, while a consciousness of love corresponds to an entirely different spectrum of vibrating thoughts and feelings. Now that we understand a little more about the way consciousness vibrates at an individual level, let's zoom out and look at how it vibrates at a collective level. According to the angels, all of the consciousness in the universe is united and one within the great divine creator mind of the all. This means that all of human consciousness is one. It is connected and united. This means that what happens in the consciousness of one individual ripples out and contributes to what is happening to the whole within our shared earthly collective experience. Human consciousness corresponds to a spectrum of vibrations. At any given time in our vast history, both our remembered and forgotten history, human consciousness has flowed within a spectrum defined by its lowest and highest parameter. The lowest resonating parameters of consciousness correspond with suffering and fear, while the highest resonating parameters of consciousness correspond with well-being and love. Humans exist at expressions of awareness all along that vast spectrum. When humanity undergoes a big spiritual and consciousness shift, like the one we're undergoing right now, the vibrational parameters of our collective consciousness shift. It's like jumping from one octave or scale of musical tones on the piano to another one. This is exactly what is happening in our collective right now. The vibration of the earth and all of her inhabitants is shifting. Human consciousness is shifting to a new and higher octave, spectrum, or scale of consciousness. Remember, the higher resonating part of the vibrating consciousness spectrum corresponds with love and well-being. This means that the ordinary, sustained level of consciousness on Earth is shifting to include a higher awareness of love and our inherent unity with each other. According to the angels, anytime humanity's consciousness jumps to a higher frequency spectrum, a spotlight shines on both the lowest and highest parameters of our current level of consciousness. This means that we're seeing an amplification of both the worst and the best of what humanity is capable of in this phase of transformation that we're currently in. This is the polarization we're experiencing on the planet right now. We're being called to review and unpack our lowest and highest potential so that we may learn, evolve, and grow to attain a new frequency spectrum. Polarization is therefore a natural and healthy function of breaking down and undoing the structures of the old consciousness so that we may evolve to the new. Just as a caterpillar dissolves its old structures within the chrysalis so that the form of the butterfly may grow, we too must dissolve the old. That process feels vulnerable and messy. It is uncharted territory. It is a form of death. But once the breakdown is complete, we'll be ready for the breakthrough, the moment when we emerge from the chrysalis with wings to soar to new heights. The polarization of both love and fear in our collective is not a symptom of an impending split. Humanity is not about to go into two separate directions or into two separate dimensions of being. We are irrevocably one with one another. Every soul lesson we experience on this planet is rooted in that oneness, and that's not about to change. According to the angels, those spiritual seers who believe there is going to be a split in human consciousness are simply not zooming out far enough. They're looking at a tiny, temporary moment in the collective transformation we're undergoing and mistaking it as our ultimate destiny. They're looking at the temporary polarization wherein both love and fear amplify, and they're mistakenly assuming that this is the destination of our collective shift. With love and respect for all perspectives, no. According to the angels, the intensification of polar extremes in our consciousness is a normal, natural, and temporary part of the process of our collective migration towards a new frequency spectrum. Humanity is irrevocably one with one another, just as we are irrevocably one with God. Our evolution and spiritual awakening leaves no one behind. Every version of ourselves across every dimension of reality holds to that oneness and achieves eventual spiritual enlightenment as a result of that oneness. Now, you may be wondering, what is my role in this process? What can I do to help usher in the shift and be a mover and shaker in bringing about a higher consciousness of love on earth? According to the angels, you have the power to anchor yourself at the higher part of the spectrum of consciousness right now. By cultivating a consciousness of faith, hope, love, peace, and prosperity, you have the power to call in the higher octaves of consciousness and spread its riches into the collective. When you do the inner spiritual work involved in cultivating a consciousness of love within, you manifest a world around yourself that reflects love, harmony, peace, and abundance. In this way, you can start living in New Earth right away. In your corner of the world, you can already start to experience a life of greater peace, well-being, and prosperity. No matter what seeming upheaval you see going on in the world at large, you can be at peace and devote your life to ushering in heaven on earth. You're achieving a consciousness of love and abundance, and manifesting a personal reality based in that love and abundance contributes to the collective healing and rebirth that will change our world and welcome in a new era and a new earth. I'm going to be teaching all about this in my upcoming month-long Angel Alchemy course and guiding a group of lightworkers through the angels' teachings and spiritual practices for creating that consciousness shift within. If you're not sure if the course is for you, but you'd like to learn more about your ability to hold the higher consciousness that helps you to co-create the life and world of your choosing, then join me for my free webinar taking place on Sunday, April 26th at 12 noon Eastern Time, where I'll be teaching the 5 keys to manifesting miracles with the angels. Everyone who joins the webinar will receive a limited time access to the recording so that even if you can't make it live, you can still watch the webinar at your convenience. And you'll also receive early access to enroll in my Angel Alchemy course in case you want to go even deeper into this spiritual work with me and the angels. To sign up for the free webinar and get the option for early enrollment in my Angel Alchemy course, click the link I left for you below. Thank you so much for tuning into these angel messages and for liking, commenting, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell. It is my honor to be connected with you, and I am so excited to connect with you in the upcoming live webinar. I hope to see you there, and until then, know that you are so loved and so very blessed. Bye!